At 2 a.m., Julia sat on her living room floor, sobbing over the messages she'd just reread again. Across town, Michael stared at his reflection in the mirror, asking himself if he'd ever matter again. The rooms were different, but the silence felt the same, the kind of silence you hear after years of being told you're not enough. Neither of them knew each other, but both were trapped in the same silent story, surviving narcissistic emotional abuse, till help showed up. Not as a lecture, not as a quick fix, but as connection. Real human connection. Today you'll meet them and witness what turned those midnight moments into healing breakthroughs. Julia had once been the life of every room. Her laugh a signal that joy had arrived. But now, even asking for an hour to herself felt dangerous. Her partner would flood her phone with messages. "Are you ignoring me? You're selfish. I guess I don't matter." It wasn't just guilt. It was a constant reminder that her needs were an inconvenience. Michael's story unfolded differently, but the damage was eerily familiar. Every time he opened up about his feelings, his spouse would smirk and say, "You're overreacting." Or worse, "Stop acting weak." His emotions were treated like flaws to be fixed, not truths to be heard. Two people, two different relationships, yet the same invisible wound. Feeling unseen, unheard, and slowly worn down until you start to believe the lie that you don't matter. They didn't call it abuse, not yet, but that's exactly what it was. And like so many survivors, they thought they were the problem. Happened on an ordinary Tuesday night. Julia had been quiet after a long day, just quiet, not angry, not cold. But her partner leaned in, frowning. "You're too sensitive, always overreacting." The words hit like glass shattering in her chest. Sensitive, as if caring too much made her defective. Across the city, Michael was celebrating his biggest career win yet, an award he'd worked years to earn. He came home smiling, ready to share the moment. But instead of pride, his spouse smirked and said, "Wow, you think you're a big deal now?" Then the twist, "You're remembering it wrong. I never said that." Gaslighting so quick, he almost believed he imagined the sting. For Julia, it was the moment her chest felt too heavy to lift her head. Michael. It was the night victory tasted like ash. Different triggers, same collapse. Both lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe they were the problem. Wondering if maybe they weren't worth loving at all. It was a Wednesday evening when their paths crossed, not in a dramatic rescue, but in the quiet circle of a support group. Julia sat 2 seats away from Michael, eyes down, fiddling with the cuff of her sweater. When Michael began to speak, she barely looked up until his words landed like a mirror in her chest. "I thought I was the only one, that maybe I deserved it. But I've learned love doesn't look like this, for the first time in years." Julia's inner voice whispered, "I'm not alone." She didn't say it out loud. She didn't have to. The knowing was enough to loosen the grip of shame. "When he starts twisting my words now, I don't feed it. I just go gray. No emotion, no reaction. It's called the gray rock technique." For Michael, watching Julia stand firm lit a spark. The next morning, he opened a blank journal and wrote his first daily affirmation. "I am enough, even if no one else says it." The pen moved awkwardly at first, but with each sentence, he felt his voice growing back, 1 page at a time. Neither of them was healed overnight, but that night in the circle had cracked the walls just enough for the light to seep in. And once you've seen the light, it's impossible to go back to complete darkness. Healing from narcissistic emotional abuse isn't abstract, it's action. Julia and Michael began to apply concrete strategies, each small step a victory against the manipulation that had kept them trapped. Set boundaries, Julia started saying no without guilt. No explanations, no over-apologizing, just firm, clear boundaries. As Mind psychiatrist notes, boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to self-respect. Prioritize self-care. Michael began prioritizing himself. Therapy helped him untangle years of self-doubt, while daily walks gave him space to breathe and reflect. Self-care isn't selfish, it's survival. Effective emotional communication, learning to communicate emotions directly, without blame, rewired their interactions. Using "I feel" statements, they reclaimed their voice while avoiding the traps of reactive confrontation. Seek support. They discovered the power of safe spaces. Trusted friends, support groups, and professional guidance became shields and scaffolds. Places where healing could actually happen. Understand the cycle. Recognizing the narcissistic cycle, the love bomb, the devaluation, the discard. Demystified their experiences. It wasn't them, it was the pattern. And once you can name it, you can start to stop it. These aren't just tips, they are lifelines. Each action, each boundary, each moment of self-care slowly chipped away at the control of abuse, leaving room for clarity, self-respect, and ultimately freedom. The strategies weren't just theory, they were tools Julia and Michael could use in the moment. One morning, Julia's phone buzzed. Her ex's name flashed on the screen. The old instinct would have been panic, guilt, or rushing to answer, but this time was different. Instead of reacting, she created a buffer, a moment to reclaim her energy. The gray rock technique had transformed from an idea into a habit, giving her control over her responses. Michael learned to interrupt the spiral of anxiety with support. No longer trapped in isolation, he rebuilt his confidence piece by piece. Each conversation, each affirmation, each boundary reinforced the truth. His worth was inherent, not dictated by someone else's manipulation. By applying these strategies daily, Julia and Michael began to reclaim their lives. They rediscovered clarity, self-respect, and the freedom to make choices without fear. Proof that healing from narcissistic emotional abuse isn't just possible, it's sustainable. Weeks later, Julia returned to the group, radiant. The trembling, uncertain woman who once hid in corners was gone. She shared her story with a steady voice, how she now trusts her inner guidance, recognizes manipulation, and chooses her peace over guilt. Her words rippled through the room, planting hope in others who still felt trapped. Michael, on the other hand, found his healing in small daily victories. One evening, he posted a photo of a sunset walk on social media with a simple caption, "Learning to see myself again." No fanfare, no validation needed, just a man reclaiming his identity. They both made a choice, to heal, not because someone else demanded it, but because they valued themselves. And now, having experienced the darkest lows, they share their stories, strategies, and victories, helping others navigate the same journey, one step at a time. Healing from narcissistic emotional abuse doesn't happen all at once. It starts with one small act, a quiet moment of self-care, a boundary firmly set, or simply saying, "I matter." This was Julia and Michael's journey, but it could be yours too. To guide you on your path, download my free guide, the Narcissist Recovery Starter Kit. 7 steps to reclaim your confidence, clarity, and peace, packed with practical tips, emotional support strategies, and daily exercises to help you reclaim your peace. Join our community of survivors, listeners, and healers who are walking this path together. You don't have to face this alone. Take that first step today. Your journey to recovery starts now.